Welcome to the Home Education with Ease podcast. I'm your host, Christine Furman, a homeschool mom, entrepreneur, and educator with over 20 years of experience in the areas of elementary and special education. It's my mission to help you create lifelong learners and embrace a holistic approach to education at home. I'll be sharing practical strategies, inspiration, and resources to support your family. Whether you're a stay-at-home mom, a business owner, or balancing work and homeschool, you're in the right place to connect with a community that values education just as much as you do. Join us each week as we ditch the stress, embrace the joy of learning, and set your family up for a lifetime of success. Welcome back to Home Education with Ease. I'm your host, Christine Furman, and today we are diving into one of my favorite topics, hands-on learning. If you've ever felt stuck trying to make lessons engaging for your kids, this episode is for you. Hands-on activities aren't just fun. They're impactful, memorable, and incredibly effective for your young learners. So this episode is really going to hit on activities that are perfect for ages, I would say 7 and under, but some of these activities can be adapted to meet the needs of your learners. So let's dive in. Let's talk about them. There's so many fun activities here that I'm excited to share with you. And I'm even going to share a YouTube video so you can actually see the activities in person. And I'm also encouraging you to join the EduPlay Learning Home Education with Ease Facebook group, because I would love to know what other items you have at home. And you're like, all right, Christine, how do I use this? What activities can I do with these items that I have in my home? So I want to see those pictures. I want to hear your ideas, and I cannot wait to share additional activities with you. But today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to share some simple hands-on activities that you can try with your kids today. And these activities are budget-friendly, multi-sensory, and using things that you probably already have in your home. And they're all designed to spark their curiosity and creativity and just really set them up to be lifelong learners. Well, let's dive in. So, one of the educational hands-on activities that I love to incorporate each month in my curriculum are sensory bins. And one of the first ones that I've used with my own kiddos were sensory bins with rice and ones with beans. So you could just get a bag of rice, you could get a bag of beans, dried rice, and you can put this into a bin. It could be a box, it could be a plastic bin, it could be a tinfoil, baking sheet that you would get. So something that's going to contain the mess. And here's a little pro tip as well. What I would do is I would put down a big plastic tablecloth, or any kind of tablecloth, right? You maybe have a fabric one or a cloth one, but put that down. And this works for 2 reasons. One, the mess, right? So if they do end up getting rice or beans anywhere, most likely it's contained on that tablecloth. The other reason that I like to do this is because it gives our kids a working space. They know that this is their area to play with their sensory bin, whatever it may be. Rice and beans are just one example. I've done water sensory bins. I've done ice cubes. I have done different colored sensory bins, right? So we have Valentine's Day coming up. I have pink and red and white shredded paper with different Valentine's items. You could do a sensory bin with anything. There's some great activities that could go with it. So let's just go with rice and beans for this example today, okay? What you could do is you could use any items that you have, okay? So maybe your kiddos love to play with their cars. Put their cars in the sensory bin, and you can hide them, and then they have to find them. That is just an easy hide and seek kind of a game, right? You could do letters, you could do numbers, blocks. So you could do things like a scavenger hunt with them. All right, I hid 5 of your cars and 3 of your toys. Go ahead and find them and describe those toys, so they know what they are. And they have to find those. Or you could have cards like let's say letter cards, and you have to match the letter with the letter block that is inside there. So there's lots of variations here with this sensory bin that you guys can, just change it up. And this is something that I really love incorporating sensory bins in here because not only is it good for that multi-sensory, that hands-on learning, and they're able to see it, they're able to touch it, feel it, and be able to just make it very engaging for them. The other thing you could do, you could spell words, you could do math problems within that sensory bin. I mean, you could really bring a lot of your academic skills using that sensory bin. One of my favorite ones that I did with my kids was a construction sensory bin. And I used beans and I used different colors. So I used white and black beans and even brown beans, I think, in there as well. And then that way it kind of looked like rocks and stones, and you could do any kind of variation. Even if you did rice, you could always dye it to have different colored rice. So I've done that as well. So with that construction bin, I had a bin and I had the beans in it. And I took my son Alex's little construction toys and I put those in it. So some of them had buckets on them, some of them had scoops, some of them just had big tires. And I put those there. And then I put a hard hat and goggles. And it was like he went to his construction site. And that was really cool. He enjoyed that for a long time. So these are just some ideas, and like I said, if you are looking for more ideas, I am excited to share them with you in that Facebook group. It's really a great opportunity for us to be able to have that connection and, get connected with the community of other moms to share these ideas, as well as the EduPlay Learning Instagram page, which also is a great way for me to share some ideas and videos as well. Another one that I love for the sensory bin was a farm with animals and a barn. So they have to find the animals and put them in their barn. So many different ideas there. So I hope that kind of sparks your ideas with some sensory bins. All right. So another activity would be a count and move. And I do this a lot within our calendar routine, which, by the way, calendar routine, it's really important for our kids' development because calendar, and I've talked about this before, calendar really does have so many fundamental skills for math that you guys can do with calendar. So let's just go with our count and move. You can roll dice or choose number cards, or if you're going with the calendar routine, you could choose the date. So if today is the 31st, you can jump or move that many times. Now that's a lot. So whenever we did calendar and it was at the end of the month, I typically picked movements that weren't going to completely exhaust us. Like at the beginning of the month, I would do star jumps because they're a little bit more physical. But maybe at the end of the month, we just do some arm circles because you could do a lot more of those. So thinking about those movements and then mixing them up. And the best part of this, the count and move, not only are you working on math where you're counting, but you're also doing movement, which are those gross motor skills that are so important for development. So any type of moving, any type of throwing, skipping, jumping, toe touches. Here's something with a toe touch where you're going to go from one side, like the right side, to your left side. Crossing over the midline of your body is really, really important for their development as well. So think about that while you're doing some of these movement ideas, jumping. You could do jumping jacks. And the way I did that is I would do hands down and then jump up to a star and then just really start them into that jumping jack formation. So count and move, lots of movement. I love moving with my kiddos. It's good for me too, but it really gets some of their energy out too. All right, another math idea here is math with snacks. And we've talked about this as well. We've talked about a lot of these before, but it's really good to have them all in one episode here. So this one, we actually just did this and we did a marshmallow math. So not only will I share a video with all of these different activities, I'll share the specific marshmallow math that we did as well, because we took mini marshmallows and I showed, how you can count with them. Again, rolling the dice or choosing a number card. Or you could do patterns. So maybe you have different snacks, right? Maybe you have a trail mix and you can do patterns with your kiddos. Or maybe you have a couple different snacks like pretzels, mini marshmallows, and, goldfish, something else. You could do patterns and have your kiddos match that pattern and then continue the pattern. So, those are some things that while you're eating, while you're at the table, your kids' focus and their attention is at the table because they're excited for their snack, right? But you can also incorporate some math, some conversation in there, some counting. You can even have them come up with stories. If, I ate 5 of these and then I had 6 more, how many did I eat altogether? So incorporating those. So there's your addition. You could do subtraction with snacks. Of course, that one's easy, right? If I have 10 marshmallows and I eat 5 of them, how many do I have left? You could do multiplication. And then with multiplication, you could even do skip counting and division. So many different ideas that you can do right at the kitchen table with your kids while you're eating snack. Another idea is the color hunt. And actually, this one we have coming up for President's Day. I have one scheduled in the EduPlay Learning Activity Kit, the monthly activity kit that we have, as well as the President's Day collection. And that one is an American scavenger hunt. So, what I have are cards with red, white, blue, and even yellow for like stars. And you could cut those cards out or you can leave them. And they would find different things within the house that have those colors. So, all right, I want you to go find me things that are red, and you have 30 seconds or 1 minute, and as many red things as you can find and bring them back here. And now find me how many blue things you can find. And go, go, go. Find me all the blue things. Bring them back here. Same thing as you go on. You have the red, white, and blue. I also have done one in March for rainbow, for St. Patrick's, things like that. So we've done that as well. And then the best part is too, because then you're like, oh my gosh, Christine, I have all of these items here. What do I do with them now? Now they have to go put them away. So you're having them find these things, but now we're also showing them that they need to clean up after themselves as well. So, all right, I want you to take all of the blue items and go ahead and put them away. You have 1 minute or 2 minutes to go ahead and put all of these away. And obviously, you could help them a little bit along the way, but it really is giving them that, ownership and that skill to be cleaning up after themselves as well. And you can practice identifying, saying, and reading the color words. So not only are you saying these words, but you have them written down on a card and you have them on your floor or on the table. And then that way they're identifying, they're seeing what color it is. And they're able to see that and read that as well. All right, another activity would be anything to practice the alphabet. So alphabet games here. And I don't know about you, but I know for me, as I was like looking through my items, we have a ton of alphabet practice items. And I still have them, even though my kiddos don't need them anymore, but I still have classes where I use them. And you could do letters matching with letter cards. Okay, so maybe you have blocks and then you have letter cards. And if you don't, reach out to me because I have some in my store that you can print out. But you would match the item with the letter cards. You could match the blocks. I know for us, we have matching cows or alligators where it matches the uppercase and the lowercase. You could do that with the cards as well. One of the other ideas you could do at home, if you don't have any of those, is you can get plastic Easter eggs and you can write one letter on one side and one letter on the other side. And you can either do both uppercase, so they're matching uppercase A and uppercase A, or you can do uppercase and lowercase and they can match them up. It all depends on the level of your kiddos. But we loved having alphabet things all over. One of my favorite items was the Leap Frog. It was like a bus and it was magnetic and it would go on my fridge and it had all of these different letters that would go with it too. And then they would grab one of the letters and they would put it into the bus and it would say the sound, say what letter it was, if I can find that, I will link that here as well, because that was probably one of my favorite items and one that I would get younger kiddos because I thought it was such a great toy and to practice the alphabet. It's identifying the alphabet, it's listening to the sound, and I think there might be words that, come up with that as well. But you can also do that, right? So if your kiddo is at the refrigerator or wherever you are able to, hang it up, and your kiddo puts a C in there and it goes through the little song, and then you're able to say, okay, well, what starts with the letter C? Cat starts with the letter C. And just that engagement with our kiddos too. So again, when we're having snack with them, just sitting there and talking to them and with them. And when we're practicing our letters, we're talking to them. We're just exploring with them. And I think that is so important too, just having these conversations all the time with them, even telling them what you are doing throughout the day. Okay, right now we're going to go and we're going to go have our snack. And then after snack time, we're going to clean up and then we're going to go take a nap. And then after nap time, you could just really be telling them about their day, what's happening, where you're going, and just continuing to have that conversation with them, I think is really, really important. And then leading into that conversational piece is storytelling. And you could do this with pictures or you could do this with toys. So again, encourage your kiddos to use their imagination to create a story and then engage with them and add to that story. Maybe they have a baby doll. They say, okay, where is your baby doll going today? What adventure is your baby doll going to go on today? Or, oh, I see you have a train here. Where is that train going to go today? Does it have passengers on it? Does it have supplies and materials on it? What's your train hauling today? So again, just encouraging them to use their imagination and engage with them and then continue to add to that. And it can be actual items. It could also be pictures. It could be a story that you're reading or that you want to just talk about and just say, hey, where do you think this car is going to go? So you can use a book, you can use cards, toys. You can even have a picture book with family members or even just items now that I'm thinking about it. But if you have a picture book with family members in it, you can talk about those family members when they're not there with you. But even if you had a picture book with just items in it, like an apple or a ball, or like I said, if you had a book that had like these letters, you can then come up with these words that start with these letters, right? Like a letter book. You could then come up with different stories for those as well. So there's some storytelling, some reading. These are all, reading skills, math skills, writing. I mean, it's really getting them ready for all of these skills later on. Another math idea would be building with magnet tiles or blocks and asking them, what can you create today? Can you create me a house for your dolls or a barn for your animals? See what you can create. And then I want to see how tall you can get it. And let's measure it. So you can talk about measurement. You can talk about things that are tall. You can talk about things that are long. And you can ask them, which one is taller? Is your tower taller than my tower? And just asking them those questions. And again, interacting and engaging while they're playing is so important for their development. So let's talk about art skills then and developing their art skills, which also helps with fine motor skills. So art is really important. One thing that just popped up is stickers. Them grabbing a sticker, that pinching skill is really important. So whether they're grabbing it off of that paper and putting it onto another paper. Again, with stickers, you want to be careful because they could go anywhere. But for my kids, I just made sure that they knew stickers go on paper. So you take a sticker off and you put it on paper. If you put it on your shirt, you have to then put it on paper. So that was something that was like a rule, and they need that. Because if not, they just want to grab something and stick it wherever it looks cool to them. And of course, everything is eye level to them, dressers and furniture, when they're little. And that's exciting for them to stick it somewhere. But if you want them to stick it just on paper, just have to reinforce that and practice that with them. Paper, giving them some paper, crayons, markers, and you could do this at their high chair. So they're contained. So then that way the writing isn't going to go anywhere, right? And a lot of these things can be done while they're sitting at the table. Maybe you're making dinner and they're sitting in their high chair, and you can give them some of these items and engage with them while you're making dinner. And they're contained and they're entertained then as well. And they're able to do these skills. And then, you know, you're practicing with them. So let's say art, right? Giving them some paper, giving them some crayons or markers. They even have ones that don't show up. They're white, only on the specific paper. So those are great if you don't want marker anywhere. Another cool thing would be ripping paper. So you may think, oh my goodness, Christine, that's a mess. It is, but it's also practicing that fine motor skill. Them holding a pencil or a crayon or a marker, fine motor skills. Sidewalk chalk, fine motor skills. All of that grabbing, the grabbing is actually really good for them to hold on to their pencil, but ripping then too is really good for them as well. So these are really, I would say, pretty easy ideas when it comes to just giving them paper and crayons, or a coloring book. And if you do need anything like this, please, please reach out. I've got plenty of coloring for your little kiddos. All right. So the next thing that I thought that I have here are lacing cards. And this may be, getting into that older, that 4 to 5, it depends on our kiddos, but practicing lacing, why is that important? It's important for them to practice and know how to learn how to tie their shoes. So in and out with the lacing cards then helps them to have that skill of holding on to it. You can tie on a lacing card, and then eventually that skill transfers for them tying their shoe as well. Magnets are another great idea and activity. And if you don't have a fridge or a space for them to hang up magnets, you could just get a baking sheet, make sure it's a magnetic one, and giving them some big magnets. Obviously, you want to make sure they're not small magnets. You also want to make sure those magnet tiles don't open up and those magnets don't come out as well. So magnet tiles actually work great on that baking sheet as well. Or, we had some big magnets. The leapfrog letters were one of the big magnets we used, different character magnets. So those are letters and numbers. Those are all great ideas, again, that can be contained, right? So here is your space. Your baking sheet is your space, and here's your bucket of magnets. And here's something too, while I'm thinking of it, is like not giving them access to all of these items and ideas at one time. Okay. So if you do think of some of these and you want to try some of these, maybe you have separate bins or you have separate boxes, whatever you can, or baskets. You can go to the dollar store and get a basket. And certain times during the day, you would just pull out one of these baskets and say, oh, you know what? It's time to draw right now. Let's sit down and let's draw together. And really setting up that routine for them so they know what's expected and what's coming next. They know that they're waking up at this certain time or around that time. Right from there, they're going to, play maybe for a few minutes and get breakfast right away. And then they're going to play, and whatever that play looks like, is that where we're going to build Legos or we're going to practice our letters and numbers. So definitely structuring their day so then that way they know what's coming up next. They love routine. So this is great for that, where you can just have all of these activities in different bins. And then that way you're able to grab a bin and practice the skills with them. Another one would be large Lego blocks. So depending on the ages of your kiddos, but having the big Legos and creating an example that you want your kiddos to build. So it could be simple. It could be, just 3 different colors put together, and see if your kiddos can match that. All right, this is what I did. I did red, green, blue. Can you do that? Red, green, blue. And then you can even change it up. Maybe they're turned different ways. Maybe they're stacked, and see if your kiddos can copy that. And then with Legos, there's always adding and counting. You can always count the little dots on the Legos. You can use that for multiplication. So definitely some math that can go with those Legos as well. Here's just a few additional things that I thought of after. I always loved having music on for our kids, and I love having toddler tunes on. So it played a lot of those old nursery rhymes, but also there's just so many follow directions. There's counting, there's the alphabet, rhythm. So having that like very soothing music on this really is good, even for the environment of the home. And I felt that in my house, right? And I even get this way now, right? If the music's on and someone's trying to talk to me and I'm trying to get dinner ready, I become a little bit overstimulated. But I'm like, okay, everyone stop. I need to turn the music off. I need to finish dinner and then we can have this conversation. So just identifying, and it takes a while because I didn't realize that that was what's happening. But when my kids were younger and littler, I was able just to have this soft music on in the background. It doesn't have to be loud, but it was kind of just there. So, one, it's not super quiet in the house, which maybe you want it to be quiet, right? But it kind of gave a little bit of noise and it gave a little bit of educational component as well because then we were singing and we were dancing. That's another fun thing is like those songs come on and you just want to dance too and your kids want to dance. So those are some other things that as I was coming up with these ideas, those are some things that I thought of as well. Another thing would be reading with them often. So it's so important to read with them all the time and get excited. They pick up on that intonation. They get excited with you. So think about that. Think about reading any books that you have. And if you need books, go to the library. Check out those. Speaking of the library, check out library time, story time at the library. So definitely highly encourage reading with your kids often. And it's really good for their reading skills, their vocabulary, speaking, developing their speaking as well. So another idea would be puzzles, building puzzles with them. So making some simple ones where they're just one piece puzzles and then moving on to maybe 4 pieces and then 8 pieces and, just allowing them to continue to develop their puzzle skills, but it's that problem solving skill. So highly recommend puzzles as well. All right. And one of the last things that you can use to practice a lot of skills, numbers, letters, creativity is Play Doh. And again, this would be more of a supervised activity, maybe one where they're sitting at their high chair, or maybe you have a specific toddler table and you do it with them supervised. But you can roll up the Play Doh into little balls. You could roll it up into little snakes and then practice creating letters and numbers and letting them just be creative with it as well. What can you make with the Play Doh today? So, those are some of my ideas today, so many of them, and it was so fun to kind of think back to when my kiddos were young and what were some of those things that I did. So here are some of those activities again. We did a sensory bin sorting, count and move, alphabet match, fine motor skills, gross motor skills. Those fine motor ones were like ripping paper, drawing. Gross motors would be jumping, skipping, throwing a ball, that movement. So, why is this so important? Why are these hands on activities so important? Well, one, I have nieces and nephews now, and it's super fun to be like, these are the things that I did with my kids, and it was fun. And I also have families that are homeschooling that maybe have younger kiddos at home. And they're like, what do we do with the younger kiddos while I'm trying to teach the older ones? Well, here are some of these ideas and activities. They could be seated at a specific table, and there is their activity. So these are some of the fun things. And these activities are just engaging, very multisensory. It keeps the kids motivated and it makes them excited to learn because they are learning and they don't even realize it, right? And making all of these little moments memorable for you and for them. Like, oh man, my mom played with me And I learned so much, and they don't even know that they're learning. So think about those. So I want to encourage you to try some of these activities, even if you try one of them with your kids this week. And I would love to hear about it. So I want you to share your experience in the Facebook group, EduPlay Learning Home Education with Ease. And I'd love to see how it went. I want to see your pictures. I want to see the interactions, videos, whatever you have, and just share your experience with me on some of these activities that you did with your kiddos. Also, I want to share if these ideas inspired you and you're looking for more, I highly encourage you to check out the monthly EduPlay Learning activity kits. They are full of hands-on learning activities just like these, engaging videos, and all the supplies you need to learn all month long. So these are some ideas that I came up with, but I have even more in each of those boxes. And you don't have to come up with the ideas. You don't have to search for supplies. You don't have to go on Pinterest searching for the videos. It's all done for you, delivered right to your door. All you have to do is open it up and enjoy that quality time with your kids and that engaged learning. Plus, you also get to connect with me and ask me any questions that you may have while you are working through the EduPlay Learning subscription activity kits. So if you are interested in more of that, definitely check out the link in the show notes. Find me on social media, Facebook or Instagram, and let's have a conversation and see if those subscription boxes are a good fit for your family. And also, I don't want you to forget about the videos that I'm going to link here in the show notes. So 2 videos for you, which are the simple hands-on activities to transform your home education journey, and then the marshmallow math. So those are also going to be in the show notes below. And I'm excited to share those with you and see what you guys think, see how many activities that you guys can incorporate into your schedule. But most of all, I just want to say, give yourself grace. You are doing an amazing job. And just remember, learning doesn't have to be complicated to be impactful. With a little creativity, you can make education fun, engaging, and meaningful for your child. That's what it's all about, creating lifelong learners and enjoying the process along the way. Again, that's why we changed the name to Home Education with Ease, because I truly believe in incorporating and having fun with our kids and making it easy and full of joy while we're home with our kids. So be sure to join me next week as we dive into money concepts. So ways to teach our kids about money and even some practical money tips for us to keep in mind. And remember, see each moment as a chance to learn, create, and have fun. Thank you for tuning in to the Home Education with Ease podcast. I hope today's episode left you feeling empowered and ready to take the next steps on your home education journey. Your support means the world to me. Please subscribe, leave a review, and share with a friend. For even more resources, be sure to join the free Facebook group, Home Education with Ease, and visit eduplaylearning.com to explore our programs and subscription kits. You can find the links and any other links mentioned in this episode in the show notes below. Remember, you're not alone. This community is here to support you every step of the way.